So normally on the channel, I do a do not buy video or is it worth playing / buying. And what I will typically do is do not buy is when the game is terrible. It's all based on my opinion. It's never a full-on review or anything like that. But I do a do not buy if it's really, really bad. And then is it worth playing / buying? Playing will be when you can access the game for free, whether that's through Game Pass or if it's just a free-to-play game. And then is it worth buying will be obviously if you have to pay for the title. But I'm adding in a new basically category of video to the channel, and I'm going to be going through lots and lots of different games. I'm going to be playing them, and I'm going to be deciding whether they're worth your time and money or not. And we have a game called Silica in this video. And I'm going to straight up tell you before we get into it, and you already know based on the title, my opinion is that you go and buy this game. This game is an early access title. It's available on Steam. I'm not sure about any other platforms. And it's going to cost you £18. So about $20, $25. I'm not entirely sure about the conversion of currency. But this game was developed by one person on their own. And that doesn't say, because it's made by one person, that makes the game worth it or anything like that. It just adds extra points, if you want to put it that way, because this game is incredible. Even if this was made by a full studio, this game is fantastic, but it was developed by a single person. And when you load the game, there are 3 different modes you can play. There's Prospector, there's Strategy, and Arena. And I do have a comment on the Prospector mode at the end of the video, but we'll leave it until that point because basically through my playtime I've taken notes on things that I think are important and I've written those down. So you've got Prospector, Strategy, Arena. You can play this as an FPS, so a first-person shooter, or an RTS, a real-time strategy game. It has both mixed into it. You can also play this game single-player or online. It's got online PvP and online co-op. There is a couple of downfalls to this game, one of them being that there's no tutorial, doesn't explain how any of the mechanics work or anything like that. You kind of just have to jump into a game and learn the ropes. But remember, it's early access, there is a chance for a tutorial and stuff to come into the game later on. And in this game, you have 2 different factions. I'm going to call them factions. You have humans and aliens. And you can play humans versus aliens. You can play, I think it's human versus alien. And then I can't remember the third mode exactly, but there are different ways to play the game. And the one thing I noticed is, at least for the human faction, is buildings take forever to construct. You have to be very, very quick. I played against the AI, I didn't do any PvP or anything like that. I played on my own, single player, and you have to be rapid in this game. There could be balancing and stuff in the future, but outside of the buildings taking forever to construct, I love how far you can zoom in on this game. You can zoom in from almost having a top-down view sort of thing. You can zoom all the way in to being able to see your vehicles, your aliens, or your infantry up close. And then I built my very first refinery playing as the humans. It was the first match I played, humans versus aliens. I was the human faction, and I built a refinery, and wow, the harvester is huge. I can't put enough emphasis on how big this harvester is. It's absolutely massive. And the way it works is really, really cool. It's got these spinning blades at the back of it. It comes out of the refinery. It does its turns and stuff. It's really, really slower turning because it's so big. But it turns on them saws or whatever you want to call them. It basically turns on its operating functions and it goes and it chews through crystals and that's how you get your currency. The thing is, because it's so big, it is so slow. Really, really slow. I think after getting out of that refinery, it took a good 2 or 3 minutes to start actually harvesting resources. It's really, really slow. And one thing that really let this game down for me, one of the biggest downfalls for it, is it's so difficult to find enough room to actually place buildings when you're on the human team. When you're playing the RTS side of it, the real-time strategy, trying to place your buildings, you are very, very limited to where you can place them. There's a lot of terrain, sort of increase and decrease on the height and stuff of it. There's loads of mountains and rocks and things like that. So I think what they could do is, obviously, it's going to take a long time to do stuff for this game. There's one person working on it. But hopefully at some point in the future, they can do it so that your area where you have your base is a little bit more flat so that you have more room to build. Or maybe just add in the ability to place a building where there's a couple of rocks or something. and you can place it over the top and flatten that area to construct your building. And another problem I found with the game is that your resources don't actually get refunded. So I started recruiting or creating riflemen, and I cancelled them to see what happens, and you don't get your resources refunded, so you need to be very careful. But the harvester, being massive, being really slow, it does in one haul bring in 7,500 resources. That's one single expedition. So the lack of speed is balanced by the resource quantity. Although what I found is you cannot have more than one harvester working at a refinery, so you need to build multiple refineries. And trust me, resources are going to be needed. You need an army quickly in this game. And then one of my favorite things is you start off with being able to recruit like scouts and riflemen. But then you can also later on build a research facility which lets you upgrade the tier of troops and stuff. So you go from basic riflemen to heavies that have rocket launchers, and you go from light quads, which are vehicles, you go from those to light armoured cars that have cannons and stuff. And then you start getting into combat, and this is where the game picks up and it becomes a lot of fun. It's scary, but it's fun. And the reason I say it's scary is because the aliens come over, they attack you when you're playing as the humans, and yeah, they can climb all over your buildings. It doesn't matter to them. They can just climb and sit on top of your refinery if they want to, and they can even climb on top of your harvester. They don't just target your troops, they target your buildings and stuff as well. And yeah, I had a scorpion eventually put my refinery out of action, meaning that I had no ability to gain any more resources. There was no home for my harvester. It was just sat there doing nothing. And then I was eventually screwed over by the aliens, like 100%. They completely destroyed me. And that was playing as the commander, because you have multiple ways to play this game. So you can go into arena, it's a free-for-all, you can select which troops you want to try and stuff, then you can go into strategy, you can play as a commander, which is the RTS side of it. It lets you build your base and everything like that, manage your resources and everything. Or you can also play as infantry, where you get objectives and things, like we'll go into more detail a little bit further into the video. But yeah, there's two different ways to play the RTS side of it, and I think that's really, really cool. But then moving over to the RTS side as a commander for the alien faction, the game doesn't tell you anything at all, but you do need to make shrimp. You need to like recruit shrimp or whatever you want to call it. You basically need to have more. They will go and gather resources. That's how you get your resources on the alien side. And I'm going to say that in the solo mode, playing as a commander, you are given around 15 to 20 minutes until you have a small army coming after you. So as I've said, make sure you are building stuff fast and make sure you get yourself a decent sized army as quick as you possibly can. And then in the infantry strategy mode, you do get objectives like I mentioned. You can also change which creature you're controlling on the alien team, and it's fucking awesome. It is so cool. It starts you off as a crab. If you see a scorpion, you look at it, you press E, and you're controlling that scorpion. And then with the scorpion, you can go and shoot enemy quads and infantry. You can go up to them and you can smack them with your tail and things like that. It's so much fun. And performance when you're on the alien side as infantry is really, really smooth. I had like one medium sort of stutter and a couple of small frame drops and stuff, but nothing major at all. However, switching over to infantry on the human side, yeah, I started off as like a normal rifleman. I took control or claimed a quad, jumped into that, started driving around, and it was performance hit after hit after hit, including a full game lockup for about 5-10 seconds. The performance in the light quad on the human side, playing as infantry, was awful. I really did not enjoy it. And just playing as the humans altogether, it's such a slow-paced game because you're driving around, you're looking for all the resources for your commander to gather or whatever. You're sitting in your quad, you're finding a couple of crabs here and there, and that's okay. But then when you die, you're back to infantry, and you can't just like make a selection and jump into a vehicle. You need to find one and claim it. If not, it turns into a running simulator, and it's quite frustrating. I spent more of my time on the human infantry team running around looking for stuff than what I did getting into action, and then the game just randomly restarted when I was playing as human infantry. So I feel as though the alien faction is 100 times more fun than the humans when it comes to being infantry. When you're doing that FPS mode, my opinion is that Aliens are like a lot more fun. And there are a few different maps you can play on for the strategy mode, but there is only one for Prospector mode, which does not work. I couldn't test the Prospector mode. I've looked in the early access notes on Steam, and it doesn't mention about that being a functional mode or anything like that, so I'm not entirely sure how that works. At the moment, it's just your strategy and your arena. I couldn't load in whatsoever. I actually had to stop my recording to make sure the file didn't get corrupted or anything like that. And then my final notes, I'm going to say this game is brilliant, especially for a single developer. It's crazy how you see games being made by hundreds of people that are complete shit, and then you see games made by small studios of like 5 people or something, or even a single developer like Silica, and they are just a lot of fun to play. You can definitely see the passion in this game, and it's fantastic to see that. I actually got, like, when I was playing infantry as the aliens, I got to jump in, I think it's called a Goliath, and that thing is a beast. I got to just basically walk all over vehicles. I got to their base, I smashed down their refinery, I took out their headquarters. It's got so much armor, so much health, and it deals so much damage. You can roll around in this thing as well. And then the best thing about it is you just press your left mouse button and you're going to smack down your front arms on top of a poor rifleman's head, and they are gone instantly. The Goliath was so much fun. And this thing, being the size it is, can still scale buildings in the enemy base. It's so much fun to play this game. And then besides the performance when you're playing human infantry, it's just really slow paced. So what I recommend is that if you're going to play this game, go into the strategy. If you're playing as a commander, play as either team. Both of them are good. And then if you're playing as infantry, I would personally steer clear of the humans. I would always go for the alien faction because the aliens just feel a lot more fun in that mode. Also, I would recommend they add a tutorial of some sort into the game, or even create a YouTube channel if they don't already have one, and just post videos explaining how the game works and things like that, because people are going to jump into this game. They're going to get frustrated because they don't know how it works. And I just think a tutorial all around, or just like some basic guides and stuff, they would be a big hit with players for this game, especially like people coming into the game never having played it before. I think some sort of a guide to help newcomers is definitely like needed for this game. This game has a lot of depth to it and things like that, and if you go into your first Alien game and you don't know about it, you have to look through all the buildings separately, and you need to figure out the shrimps are the ones that gather your resources. You need to find out where they get them from, where they go to drop them off, and by that time, like, there's a possibility you're already being attacked by the enemy player. It doesn't take long to get into the game whatsoever. Like, it's fairly easy to understand when you're looking around to try and figure things out. But I just think it would be really, really helpful if they put some sort of introduction into the game to get you into it, so you didn't have to do that in an actual game, like an actual match. So as well as all the modes I've mentioned, infantry, commander, arena, like the strategy side of things and everything, the different factions, they do also have PvP and co-op, as previously mentioned in the video too, but I didn't get round to playing any of that. I sat there playing the other modes for almost 2 hours. I was enjoying it that much, I couldn't bring myself to come off the game until I did eventually try to Prospector mode, and everything just went downhill with that, because I don't think it's actually in the game at the moment. But yeah, I think online would be really, really fun as long as there are no connection issues. The game on Steam is sitting at 75% positive, over 600 reviews, has only been available for a few days. The company that have published this have said that it's probably going to be in early access for about a year. During early access, they plan to continue polishing the current game modes and adding more content, such as more combat units, and to just improve the gameplay as a whole. The price will go up a little bit after early access, so when it gets its full like version 1.0, at the moment it's £18, and also at the moment the game has 2 fully playable game modes, strategy and arena. Strategy is the flagship game mode where players take on the role of commander, experiencing the classic real-time strategy gameplay, or soldier, bringing an FPS twist to the genre. And it says the arena is a chaotic, pure FPS shooter mode that allows everyone to try all the combat units. If you're going to play that one, try and get your hands on a Goliath. They are so much fun. But yeah, Silica, I 100% recommend buying this game. Give it a shot, and if you like FPS, you like real-time strategy, you're going to have fun in this game for sure. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.